What if I told you some of the greatest secrets in human history are still sealed beneath the scorching sands of Egypt? Beneath monuments that have watched civilizations rise and fall, there lies a world hidden from time itself, a world sealed away for thousands of years. A world built not for the living, but for eternity. Ancient Egyptian tombs were never meant to be found. They were designed as gateways to the afterlife, elaborate spiritual machines meant to guide the soul beyond death while keeping the living far away. To the ancient Egyptians, dying was not the end. It was the beginning of a journey far more important than life itself. Every tomb was packed with meaning. Walls covered in hieroglyphs, ceilings painted like the night sky, spells, prayers, and cosmic maps carefully arranged to help the deceased navigate the dangers of the afterlife. These were not just graves. They were instruction manuals for eternity. The most famous of these tombs lie in the Valley of the Kings, a vast necropolis hidden in the cliffs of the Egyptian desert. Here rest the remains of some of the most powerful rulers who ever lived, pharaohs believed to be divine, kings whose word shaped the fate of millions. Their tombs twist deep into the earth, filled with corridors meant to confuse intruders and chambers designed to protect sacred knowledge. And then, in 1922, the world held its breath. In November of 1922, after years of searching and near failure, British archaeologist Howard Carter stood in the Valley of the Kings, facing what would become one of the greatest discoveries in human history. Most royal tombs in the valley had been looted centuries earlier. Many believed there was nothing left to find, and funding was running out. This was to be Carter's final season. Then beneath the sand, a single step emerged. Carefully, workers cleared the debris. Then more steps followed. A sealed doorway appeared, stamped with ancient symbols that had not been seen in over 3,000 years. Carter knew instantly what this meant: a royal tomb, possibly untouched. He sent word to his patron, Lord Carnarvon, and waited. Days passed. When Carnarvon finally arrived, the team worked in silence, knowing that any mistake could destroy what lay beyond. Carter made a small opening in the door, just enough to peer inside. At first, there was only darkness. He lit a candle and pushed it through the opening. The air inside the chamber stirred for the first time since the age of the pharaohs. Gold began to flicker in the darkness. Strange animal shapes, gleaming statues, objects piled upon objects, untouched, frozen in time. And then, Lord Carnarvon broke silence and asked Carter if he could see anything. Carter paused and said, "Yes, wonderful things." For over 3,000 years, it lay sealed in darkness, and inside was an unimaginable treasure. Beyond that first chamber, the tomb revealed itself layer by layer. Every item had been placed with purpose, all waiting exactly where they had been left more than 3,000 years earlier. Eventually, Carter reached the burial chamber itself. Inside stood a massive stone sarcophagus, its lid sealed and untouched. When it was finally opened, it revealed something extraordinary. Not one, but a series of nested coffins, each encasing the next like a ritual of protection. Layers of gold and sacred imagery surrounded the body of the young king, designed to safeguard his soul for eternity. At the very center lay Tutankhamun himself. Resting upon the mummy was a mask of solid gold, inlaid with precious stones. It was not just a burial object, it was a symbol of divine kingship, meant to transform the pharaoh into a god in the afterlife. For the first time in over 3 millennia, the face of an ancient king looked out upon the world again, a moment frozen between past and present, a reminder that the power, belief, and ambition of ancient Egypt had not faded. It had simply been waiting.
I suppose most excavators would confess to a feeling of awe, almost embarrassment, when they break into a tomb closed and sealed by pious hands so many centuries ago. 33 centuries had passed since human feet last trod the floor on which we stood, and yet the signs of recent life were around us. A half-filled bowl of mortar, a blackened lamp, the chips of wood left on the floor by a careless carpenter. We had penetrated 2 chambers, but when we came to a golden shrine with doors closed and sealed, we realized that we were in the presence of the dead king. We were to witness a spectacle such as no other man in our time had been privileged to see. I carefully cut the cord, removed the precious seal, drew back the bolts, and opened the door, when a second shrine was revealed, even more brilliant in workmanship than the last. With intense excitement, I went forward and unbolted the inner door. They slowly swung open, and there, filling the entire area within, stood an immense yellow quartzite sarcophagus. It effectually barred any further progress until we could raise the lid. Then a decisive moment. None of us but felt the solemnity of the occasion. In a dead silence, the huge lid, weighing over 1.25 tons, was raised from its bed. Light shone into the sarcophagus, but how disappointing. The contents were completely covered by linen shrouds. But as the last shroud was rolled back, a gasp of wonderment escaped our lips. So gorgeous was the sight that met our eyes. A golden effigy of the young king of magnificent workmanship filled the whole of the interior. This was but the lid of a series of 3 coffins, nested one within the other, enclosing the mortal remains of the young King Tut. Laid on that golden outer lid was a tiny wreath of flowers, as it pleased us to think the last farewell offering of the widowed girl queen to her husband. Among all that regal splendor, everywhere the glint of gold, there was nothing so beautiful as those few withered flowers. They told us what a short period 3,300 years really was.
British archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered the tomb of Tutankhamun, and unlike every other royal tomb, this one had not been completely looted. Tutankhamun's tomb may be the most famous, but it is only one chapter in a much larger story. Long before him came the Pyramid of Djoser, built more than 4,600 years ago, the first massive stone structure in human history. Designed by Imhotep, a man so brilliant he would later be worshipped as a god. Beneath this step pyramid lies a vast underground maze of tunnels and chambers meant to protect the pharaoh forever. And then there are the tombs that remain completely lost. Where is the tomb of Imhotep himself, the architect who changed history? Where is Cleopatra, the last ruler of ancient Egypt, whose burial site has vanished despite centuries of searching? These are not just missing graves. They are missing chapters of human history. In recent years, technology has changed the game. Ground-penetrating radar and muon scanning have revealed hidden voids inside the Great Pyramid, massive empty spaces where no one expected them to exist, chambers untouched since the pyramids were sealed. These tombs were built by a civilization obsessed with eternity, by people who believed the soul lived on, that gods walked among them, and that death was merely a doorway. Each tomb is a message sent forward through time, a whisper from the past. And as long as sealed chambers lie beneath the sands, names endure and corridors remain hidden, curiosity will always lead us somewhere in time. Hey, thanks for spending a moment here. If you want to keep exploring, subscribe and hit the notification bell. A like goes a long way and keeps the algorithm gods on our side. And if you've got a thought, question, or idea, please leave a comment below.